there are some poor, misguided people who just aren't that who could spend a little bit more time on Marxist.org, and they have some issues with me and my arguments. So really quickly, I made a promise at the end of last stream. We're gonna do this really quick, and we're gonna play some games, okay? I'm just gonna call them out of the blue as a power move. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
Hello.
All right.
Wait, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine then.
Nice. Hello there, Red Democrat or Tanky something or another on Twitter. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Vaush?
Great. I'm doing great. Okay, so this is actually really convenient for me because I saw Bad Empanada's video where he said that I misinterpreted leftist theory, and I watched through it, and it was dog shit, and he was provably wrong on several points. So I'm kind of excited because I'm getting a 2-for-1 here. I just get to address kind of the general backlash against how correct I was. But yeah, hit me up point by point.
Yeah, all right. If you don't mind, I just want to make like a general critique because you've got a lot of stuff in your argument, and especially the stock. I just want to make kind of to start off a general critique of that. So I think a lot of your quotes are very out of context. Let's just start with that. They're usually not only out of historical context, but also out of the specific theoretical context. A lot of the time you just you make conclusions based on stuff that isn't even there. You know, for example, you can go from, you know, the party of the revolutionary proletariat should engage in bourgeois democracy, and you somehow map that directly onto, well, communists should vote for Joe Biden, which is...
I did not do that.
You know,
I'm so glad we're starting off at a good vote. Yeah. So, first of all, I took absolutely nothing out of context. I encourage everyone to go look at the entire text from everything that I cited. That's why I provided not links to the text, but I provided the name of the text, which everyone can find available for free on Marxist.org.
I'm very glad you did that, you know, because it allowed me to very easily see that they were out of context.
Right, well, yeah. No. So, Engels spoke on... electoralism and the participation in bourgeois electoralism, largely in relation to the potential for existing states in that time to participate in it in a sort of pragmatic sense. When it comes to Lenin, though, all of the quotes that I took on Lenin were literally directly from a text that he wrote on convincing people that participation in bourgeois electoralism is not only preferable, but a necessary precondition for establishing revolutionary characteristics in the proletariat. Likewise, the quotes that I pulled from Sylvia Pankhurst followed a conversation she had on electoralism with Lenin. So your main contention here is going to be this. I can summarize your criticism, and I'm not guessing here because you already laid it out on Twitter. You're going to say that the texts that Lenin wrote on, mostly Lenin, that Lenin wrote on, and their viability for participation in bourgeois electoralism is not comparable to the modern Democratic Party because those parties he was referring to were parties of the working class, and today the Democratic Party is very much a bourgeois party. Is that correct?
Sort of, yeah. I'm unsure as to why you brought up the fact that they advocated support participation in bourgeois democracy, because this is never something that I don't think I've seen any communist reject. The problem is with participation in bourgeois parties versus participation in the proletarian vanguard.
I have certainly seen lefties just argue against the idea of voting. I mean, a lot of them are anarchists and not MLs, I guess, but I've definitely seen them.
Let me make this clear off the bat. I think that's stupid. Okay, I'm not going to be. I'm not arguing for an anti-voting position. I'm not arguing for any kind of general anti-electoral position. That's not what Lenin argued for. That's not what Marx argued for. Engels, etc. So you don't need to engage with that position because that's not the position that I hold.
Right. So the first section that I wrote was participation in bourgeois electoralism. But the second section was, what of collaboration with bourgeois or reformist parties? And that was the section where I indicated that he was not merely referring to voting or electoralism in general, they were actually referring to the participation of parties with whom they had significant disagreement.
Well, yes, and also, I mean, first of all, I think I should mention that there's a lot of missing information here. But just to begin, yes, you're totally correct. But Lenin doesn't refer to, just straight up voting for a bourgeois party. He's referring specifically to affiliation, in this case of the British Socialist Party, of the affiliation of a proletarian party with a bourgeois workers' party in the event that bourgeois workers' party is in a better position than the Communist Party, has a lot of the workers of that country under its hold, as the Labour Party of the time did. They had 6 million out of 8 million of the trade union members in the country. Those were all in the party. So that's what Lenin was advocating for. He wasn't advocating for broad, just the Communist Party can ally with any bourgeois parties at once, and he definitely wasn't advocating that individual communists simply capitulate to a bourgeois party. He was advocating that the existing proletarian party ally itself with bourgeois workers' parties. This is totally different from voting for Biden.
The main issue is that you're wrong, and you should read more theory. Listen to this.
Oh, that's a great argument.
It is true that the Hendersons, the Kleinesses, the McDonalds, and the Snowdens are hopelessly reactionary. It is equally true that they want to assume power in line with the bourgeoisie, that they want to rule along the old bourgeois lines, and that when they are in power, they will certainly behave like the Scheidemanns and the Nusks. All that is true, but it does not follow that to support them means treachery to the revolution. What does follow is that in the interests of the revolution, working-class revolutionaries should give these gentlemen a certain amount of parliamentary support. So in this text, Lenin is specifically describing the Labour Party as a bourgeois or petite bourgeois party, which he nonetheless advocates working-class revolutionaries to support. Not politicians, not the party of the working class, but working-class revolutionaries themselves. And if you don't believe that supporting a party that is petite bourgeois does not include voting for them, then I would consider that an incredibly uncharitable interpretation on your part.
Товарищи, разрешите выразить благодарность от имени нашего съезда всем братским партиям и группам,